Good afternoon. Welcome to the latest edition of Miami Hurricanes Talk with Danny, presented by Lorraine Sports. If you want to join Canes Connection, please join canesconnection.com and you can become a member now. If you want to order We Bring the Smoke, presented by Lorraine Sports, go to lorrainesports.myshopify.com to order your shirt. That's the one you see here. I'll put all those in the YouTube description. My guest this week is Steve Wiseman from the Raleigh News Observer. Got a long distinguished career, and he's been around a long time. He has his finger on the pulse when it comes to sports in the Carolinas. So Steve, thank you for coming on. Good afternoon.
Danny, glad to be with you. Should be a fun game on Saturday. I appreciate the kind introduction.
Thank you. A lot of things here. Read your bio. It was, like I said, very interesting. I also see here when I saw your bios, you were a news reporter. Tell me a little bit about that before we get started. Tell our audience.
Yeah, for a couple of years back in the late '90s, mid to late '90s, I did General Assembly political work in South Carolina. I worked in Columbia, South Carolina, so I covered the state legislature there for 2 terms, and just got a little taste of that. Thought that was something I might want to do a little bit, and it made me realize how much I enjoy covering sports. So there's two ways about that. I enjoy doing that, but sports is my passion, so I really enjoy doing that more.
I like the thing is your stories were placed in the Associated Press Sports Editors and North Carolina Press Association writing contest. Tell our audience about that.
Yeah, those are contests that happen annually, both on the state and national levels. And so, there's different categories for features or breaking news or, in-depth kind of enterprise reporting, investigative work. I've been able to place in a lot of those categories over the years. So, it's a product of, working at places that invest in the journalism and provide me the opportunity to cover stories the right way by being on the road covering teams, that kind of thing, and then also having support of an editing staff and that can help me make my work as good as it can be.
Yeah, you served from 2011 to 2014. I see here the U.S. Basketball Writers Association Board of Directors. What was that like being on that?
Yeah, that was fun getting to know some of the top writers from around the country. I'm still a member of the USBWA. I did those terms on the board, and they do kind of cycle people in and out. They're trying to get a lot of people involved in it. So that was a fun thing where I was one of the regional people for the Southeast. They have one person for each different parts of the country, and so I helped out for the Southeast during that time.
Yeah, I see here when you were in Mississippi, you covered the New Orleans Saints. Tell us about that and also the NFL.
Yes, that was an interesting time. That was like 97 to 2001. So that was Mike Ditka, the 3 years that he
Ricky
coached.
Williams.
Yep. And I was there for the day that they traded the entire draft for Ricky Williams. And Mike Ditka came walking in with a big cigar and said, "Time to go golfing." So he was done with the draft for the whole weekend. He got the guy he wanted, and turned out to probably not be the best thing for the Saints. It wasn't the best for him because he got fired a few months later. So, and the entire front office.
Just turned 90, I believe, just this week.
Yeah, he's a fun guy. He was a fun guy to cover. Very interesting. Always gave us plenty of copy. That was at the end of his coaching tenure, when he was long after his success with the Bears. But yeah, he was a unique guy for sure.
Yeah, this week, Manny Diaz, I think he talked to the media, I believe, yesterday or today, and the question was brought up about Miami. He said he was at peace with that. How is he? Now, I know publicly he has to say, yeah, it's all this, and that. But privately, do you really think he wants this game on Saturday more than anything, given what went down here?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, just as a competitor, anybody in any would be in that situation. There's no doubt about it. I mean, just any human being who, is forced out the way he was forced out after, he thought he had success. He had a winning record. Now, you can debate about that. That's in the
Yeah.
eye of the beholder.
Yes.
But and that was the program that he, all those ties he has to Miami, to the city, his dad, all that stuff, right? And then he was a defensive coordinator. He was head coach at Temple for a little while, and
Yeah.
then Miami hired him right back before he even got to coach a game, or just a couple days later. So yes, but as a competitor, he has to want to win this game more than any. Now that doesn't mean that he's going to do things differently than he would in the other week. And I think that's what he was saying. I really do believe him when he says he's at peace. He went off to Penn State, had a terrific run as a defensive coordinator, got another chance to be a head coach in the ACC. He's so far done a really good job at Duke. So I think the fact that he got another chance so quickly probably helps him with that piece. I would say because if he was not able to get another job for a while, that might sting a little more. But I do think there's no question that he and a lot of the people on his staff who used to coach down there really want to win this game.
Yeah, I look at last week against SMU. 6 turnovers, you have a chance, and then but only get 7 points off 6 turnovers.
Yeah.
I see Duke on film and say, hey, this team is prone to give up the big plays, but at the same time, this defense forces turnovers. Tell us a little bit about that.
They do. That was tremendous. I mean, 6 turnovers. I don't know much more you can do as a defense to win the game for your offense, especially when in the fourth quarter they had 3 takeaways, 2 interceptions, and a fumble in plus territory and Duke got no points off of any of those three in the fourth quarter, which is what was the deciding factor of the game. They should have won that game just there. The defense has been really good this year, far better than the offense. I mean, the defense has carried this team. They've been, one of the tougher teams to score against. They only gave up 21 points in regulation. It was 28-21 game, obviously, but 3 touchdowns in regulation to a SMU offense that was averaging, almost 40 points a game. They've been very tough on third downs. They've done a good job with collecting tackles for loss. They've been among the leaders in the country in TFLs this year. And that's forced teams, when they do that on first and second down, to have long third down situations and have, third and 12, third and 9, rather than third and 2 or third and 4 or something like that. And that's why Duke has a really good defense, a percentage of stopping third down conversion situations. Now, I say that SMU had more success last week than anybody has against Duke, converting third downs. Duke didn't have as many TFLs, but they had all the turnovers for us. So,
Yeah.
I mean, the defense has really been the strength of this team, and it's something you would expect from Manny Diaz's defensive background.
Now going against an explosive offense like Miami. I look at Miami's numbers. Number one in the nation in the following: points per game, yards per game, yards per play, third down conversion. We just talked about third down. And in red score in the red zone 27th. How is Duke and Manny Diaz preparing for an offense this explosive, the way Miami's going to bring to the table Saturday, knowing that you have to deal with Cam Ward?
Yeah, absolutely. It'll be the toughest test they faced by far, and that's no knock on SMU. SMU has a really good offense. Jennings is a great quarterback down there, but he's not Cam Ward. He's not doing what he's doing, and Cam Ward's going to be a pro next season. So he's got that. He's got all the skills, and he's getting it done. Duke hasn't faced. I mean, besides Jennings last week, maybe a little bit Hayes King against North Georgia Tech, but a quarterback that can extend plays like Cam Ward that can do things, beyond just standing in the pocket and throwing the ball. And that's going to be the big thing. They're going to have to get pressure on him. They're going to have to not only get pressure on him, but corral him. And we know there's a difference there, right? That's the problem with trying to stop Miami is he can elude pressure and get things done that way with his legs a little bit too. So that'll be the challenge, but you know, it's not going to be easy by any stretch. And they're going to need Duke's going to need more from their offense this week. They're going to have to get. They can't. This cannot be a 20-13 game. They're not going to win that way.
They're
No,
not against
no
an
way.
offense this explosive. And
No.
when I see that Manny Diaz and the staff see something last week in FSU that they can take into this game against Miami, knowing that when I was at the game last week, Steve, the thing I looked at is FSU was coming inside when their blitz packages. Did Manny Diaz and the staff see something there that they can maybe exploit?
Yeah, maybe so, especially because they just played Florida State the week before, so they know, what Florida State does, and then they could see, what they did against Miami and try to copy some of that stuff. So, Duke has, I will say, on the defensive line, they rotate through a lot of guys. Um, they go, it's almost like a line change. They're bringing four new ones. They're deep on the defensive line, which helps them because it keeps them fresher later in games. And even I saw it even in the first quarter. SMU had an extended drive, which is unusual, but it did happen against Duke. And Duke was changing out the defensive line even on the first drive of the game, thinking trying to keep those snap counts low to help them have more legs, more breath late in the game because they're going to be chasing Cam Ward all day. So I think that'll be something to watch for too, if that can make a difference because
I,
they're going to need that. They're definitely going to need that.
Especially when you look at Miami's last week when FSU rushed Ward, they sacked him 4 times. The running game started to get going.
Yeah.
How does Duke deal with a two-headed, maybe a three-headed monster in Fletcher, Martinez, and then when they start getting tired, bring in AJ Allen.
Yeah, that's something that again is a huge concern, and they've been pretty good against the run this year. That's why again they've been so good on third down because you can't get easy third down conversion situations. But they're gonna have to rely on having guys up front that are fresh, that can get off the blocks very well, and then it's going to come down to the help coming in from the guys behind them, experienced guys like Alex Howard, who's leading them in tackles, the linebacker, Trey Freeman, who had an interception last week, Jalen Simpson, a second in the secondary, has been good at in run support. Even Chandler Rivers at cornerback has come in and on run stunts and made plays that way. So they're very active, with Jonathan Patke, who you guys know down there, and Manny at sending in different schemes and dialing stuff up and creating pressure in different ways.
Yeah, that's one thing Manny does. What he did here was the defense was pretty good. Manny Diaz is one of the best defensive coordinators in the country. I mean, let's get that out of the way right now. But how will Duke's offense deal with a pressure defense that Lance Guidry's going to throw at them?
Yeah, they you know Malik Murphy's only been sacked 9 times in 8 games, so that's basically one a game, and that helps. Now he doesn't do that by he's not elusive. He doesn't take the ball and run. He's a drop back in the pocket. I'm going to gun it out there and get it out that way. And he's going to have to get rid of it a little quicker. There were times last week against SMU, a couple of times when he had plays that were available that he was a tick short on getting the ball out, and that cost them because it got tipped away or he got hit a little bit. So that's one thing that I know they're working on this week. They have to just get the ball out a little quicker. But and they're not afraid to go deep. I mean, that's one thing. He's got a big arm, and
Yes, we
they
know.
like to throw that deep ball. Jordan Moore, their senior wide receiver, who was one of the best receivers in the league last year, and he's dealt with some upper body issue injuries, as they call it. I'll take a cue from hockey there,
Yes, yes, yes.
but he only played 17 snaps against FSU. He played around 50 against SMU, so he's a little healthier. I think he's going to be able to maintain that, and he's going to be a factor. He's a guy that's tough to guard one-on-one deep, so that makes them different. That will help them if they can. If the line has done a pretty good job of keeping the pocket clean for Murphy to be able to stand back there and throw it. But again, they're facing a really really tough defense this week.
Yeah, the guy I look at when I saw the stats last week is Eli Pinnacle.
Yep.
11 receptions, 138 yards. How is he going to factor into this game?
Yeah, he's a big, experienced receiver who can jump really well. He's from Indiana. He was a really good high school basketball player, and he could have played college basketball if he wanted to, but he chose football. He's a really good story because he missed most of the last 2 years. He missed all last year and pretty much all of 2022 with injuries, and he was able to get healthy again. And so last week, the last couple of weeks, with Moore not on the field as much. In fact, he did. Jordan Moore didn't start the last 2 weeks. Peghole became the leading target for Malik Murphy, and he's an experienced guy. So now, if you get Jordan Moore back in there, that gives them two guys that can go up and get the ball really well, and that's the offense that Duke wants to have. And Pancole coming on this year, again, somebody they didn't know what they're going to get from him because of all his injury problems, but he's
Yeah.
been a huge surprise and a great story for
I
Duke.
was pretty sure. I was surprised. 11 receptions to 138. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Let me ask you this, Steve. Give me your keys to the game for a Duke upset, and I'll give you my keys for a Miami victory.
Yep. Well, they got to turnovers again. Duke's got to be in the positive on turnovers, no doubt about that. It doesn't have to be. It would help if it was 6-0. I don't think that's a possibility again. But you remember a couple of years ago when Duke came down there and played Miami,
Like
they
Elko
beat
was the
them.
coach at the time.
Yeah, that was when Elko's first team, and the turnover differential was dramatic. That Duke really won that game down, and that's the last time Duke played down there was 2 years ago, and they didn't play last year, I guess, because we changed all the schedule. The old Coastal
Yeah.
Division isn't
Yeah.
there anymore,
Real
but
close, yeah.
obviously turnovers are a huge factor. Duke has not been a great team running the ball this year. They've been effective at times, but they haven't been. If you look at their stats, they're kind of close to the bottom of the ACC. That's going to be a factor. They're not a team that can run the ball and like run the clock down. So that's where Murphy's going to have a pretty high percentage of his completions. He's going to have to make some really good reads. They're going to have to keep the pocket clean, give him time to unload, and connect on some deep balls. And they had a couple opportunities last week. One freshman, Quayshawn Brown, lost. He had a catch in the end zone and fell off his hands and he dropped it. And then later on, he caught a deep ball. So they can't have any misses. They can't have big misses like that in the deep passing game.
Now I look at Duke's defense. They average almost 3 takeaways a game.
Yeah.
I mean, that's amazing when I say that. And their opponents don't they are minus 1.9. That's second in the country.
Yeah.
I say, whoa. I mean, that got my attention. That jumped out at me pretty quickly.
That's a big factor. And it always is in any game. But last week just watching that game, SMU got down inside the five on their first drive and fumbled it away. And I thought, you talk about things that need to happen for an upset to happen. That's one of them right there. So Duke's going to need something like that to happen against Miami even more because this is a better team than Duke played last week.
Yeah, I think for us, Miami to win, keep the same formula. But I have to say the pass protection has to be a little better. When I saw it last week, Steve, I was there in Hard Rock Stadium, and I could tell you something. I did not like the pass protection at all because they allowed 4 sacks. But I got to credit FSU; they did not allow Cam Moore to beat them with the big play. I mean, but then the running game got going.
Yeah.
I think Duke will do that. Duke will try to do that. The same thing FSU did last week is don't let Cam Moore beat him. But I gotta think to me, Martinez, Fletcher. I think if the running game gets going like it did last week, and that's there consistently, I think Miami can win this. Miami, I think, will win this ball game. Another factor we have to deal with is how will Duke deal with Xavier Restrepo?
Yeah, that's a tough thing, man. And I would expect them to, Chandler Rivers is a really good cover corner, and they have Josh Pickett on the other side. They have some experience there. They're really experienced in the secondary. So can they keep him under wraps that way? Uh, one of the things that they're going to put pressure on Cam Ward is they're going to have to guys are going to have to be in single coverage. So it's going to come down to that, and can they take care of that, and not let him get off and get some big gains that way.
Yeah, I agree. I think okay, Steve, I'm going to let you get you out of here on this. Give me a prediction for Saturday.
Well, I think Duke's going to have a hard time slowing. They're going to slow Miami down. I don't think Miami's going to score 40 points. Let's put it that way. But that's not. It's hard to win it. If you give up 30, which I think is what's going to happen. I can't see Duke scoring that many. I think it's probably 30 to 20 in that range, 10-point margin. I think that's about what the spread is. Duke might cover. It'll be close, but unless there's some dramatic, like again, 6 turnovers to nothing or something like that happens, something crazy,
Yeah.
for Duke to keep Miami below 30 points. I really think that's probably the target for Miami this week to win the game.
I think two things happen, Steve, like you just said. Keep Miami under 30. But another thing I look at is and when I saw those 6 turnovers, the first thing that jumped out at me was ball security. Miami must protect the football because this defense will force turnovers. This defense will try to get takeaways. That defense will try to take the ball away. That's why ball security for us, for Miami, will be very important in this game. Um, and I think this team, Miami, could find a way to win late, but I think Miami will win comfortably. Cam Moore is not gonna have another bad performance like he did last week. I think the pass protection will be better. I think our defense shows up for 4 quarters, and Miami, I think, wins this game comfortably. I'm gonna go Miami 37, Duke 21, 37-21. So, Steve, thank you very much for coming on. I greatly appreciate it. Talk to you have fun on Saturday and be safe, man.
Okay, thanks a lot, Danny.